Hello, friends, and welcome. I'm back. I was watching some painting streams last night, and it made me decide maybe I should go back to this. Maybe I should do some painting on stream. It's been a couple months. Lobster, thank you. Good to see you. Hello. So yeah, it's been a couple months, I guess, since the last time I streamed. Um, I don't know. I hadn't been feeling very good about my stream, and um, it's not a numbers thing. It's not like your fault. It's not a participation thing. I just wasn't enthused with myself on camera, and I felt I wasn't really offering anything, and I had had some technical difficulties which were frustrating. I just took a break, and it was a longish break. Like I said, a couple of months since I've last streamed. I have not stopped painting. I have definitely been painting in the interim, and I've painted a bunch of cool minis. At the store, I have been hosting paint nights, which are happening on one Sunday a month, usually sort of middle of the month-ish. And that gives me an opportunity to meet some other folks who are into painting, hang out with people, trade tips and tricks, the same sort of stuff that I do here with this channel. But, in person and masked. But here I am, unmasked, at home, sitting at my painting desk, and I figured I would just hang out, do a little bit of work. Today, what I'm working on is actually what I started during the last paint night at the store. This is a Chimera from Wizkids. So Wizkids does these paint night kits. And the idea behind these paint night kits is it comes with a mini. It's off camera right now. It comes with a couple of brushes. So I've got my couple of brushes here. It comes with its own set of paints. So in the bottom of the box, oh, now I'm just dumping them all out on the floor. It comes with a bunch of tiny paints, tiny paint pots, and a little dish that you could use as a water pot or whatever. So it's a great way to sort of hang out, do some painting, and you don't really need to have anything in advance. I do make a rudimentary wet palette for everybody who shows up, just using a paper plate or a plastic plate, some paper towels, and wax paper, or parchment paper, sorry. And then we just sort of paint, and we make things happen. The Chimera, let's pop over to Zoom Cam. So over here, if you'll join me on Zoom Cam, there we go. This is the Chimera that I have been working on, and you can see I've made some progress. I got the heads. This is all just base coated. It doesn't have any of the finer detail done, but I've done the three heads. During paint night, which was about a 3-hour period this week or this month. Well, last month. It's October now. Anyways, during paint night, I got these two heads done, the goat and the lion head. I did not finish the dragon head until later in the week. But obviously, I have not gotten the wings done, and that's my goal for today. The task that I have set myself in painting this mini, and in painting all the paint night minis really, is to use the brushes that come with the kit. So it comes with two brushes. This kit came with a fine detail brush from Wizkids and a multi-purpose brush from Wizkids, and they hold a point pretty well. This is the tip, if you can see, is that in focus, of the the fine detail brush, and you can see it's still holding its point after about 5 hours of use. They're not intended to be long-term brushes. Like, these are not intended to be used for a great deal of time, but they're perfect for a single quick project. One thing I did notice when I was looking at this model before starting the stream, I'm quite happy with the lion face, although I have to fix this tooth here. You get a great view of my thumb. There we go. Quite happy with this lion face, but I want to fix this tooth right there. One thing, I did some searching of reference while I was working on these folks, and I realized that lions are goth and always wear eyeliner, so I painted in some eyeliner for him. He looks great. The goat is great. I'm very happy with the eyes I was able to achieve on the goat. They came out looking really good. If you can, there, I think you can see it there. And then the dragon head is a little bit more of a challenge. The sculpt is very strange around here. It's just all tongue. I'm not super happy with it. I want to give it some fangs, which I'm going to have to actually paint in. And this eye right here is giving me some agita. I'm going to see if I can just do a little fine detail work on that. I just want to give it a slightly better iris on that eye. And then we'll work on wings. I might just totally mess this eye up right now, live, on stream, in front of your unforgiving gaze. But I just want to see if I can touch this up very, very slightly. So, trying to get a delicate tip on the brush. And this is not the greatest of angles either, just because there's a wing in the way. Oh, well, that didn't go on the eye at all. That went on the horn. It's alright. With painting, you can always, there, you can paint over the stuff around it. That's a little better. Alright. I can fix that up very easily. So primarily today what we're going to be using is my old friend Rojo. This is Vallejo 926 red. It's a great dark red. One of my favorite colors. So let's touch up a little around that eye. Wonder if I can find the color I was using for his horn there. Whatever. Let's touch up just underneath the eye there. I painted a little bit on his cheek. Quick little dab. This is totally obscured, isn't it? There we go. There. Perfect. Alright. So, for the wings, you can see I did the fingers on this wing. The last bit of painting that I've done on this, I did the fingers here. I worked a little bit on the bottom side of that wing, but not much. We'll work on that today. And I did the tail and the face. So, like I said, I did the body and the two heads during my... I'm gonna... Give me a sec here, chat. Boop. Just my instinct is to hold the Mini here. So I'm just gonna move the camera over a bit. So yeah, I did the body and these two heads in the first paint night. And then I spent maybe 2 hours doing the other head and the wing. But that was at the store between customers, so I had customers popping in and out throughout that time. So yeah, let's work on the other wing. I'm going to switch brushes and use the Wizkids multi-purpose brush. Yeah, it is nice to be painting on stream again. It's been an interesting time since last I sat with you folks, just in terms of global weirdness and general bad feels in the world at large. And I always felt that this stream is a good de-stressor for me. Which is why I took a break, is because I was beginning to get frustrated and it wasn't fun. So I don't know, it's good to be back. Hopefully I will not run into that situation again. I spent some time before going live this morning sort of cleaning up my Twitch back end. Twitch has a very obtuse back end. It doesn't make things easy. But for example, I deleted the button that was linked to my Twitter account, because I deleted my Twitter in the interim since I've last been with you folks. Back when Musk first made his offer to purchase Twitter, and there was much talk about the changes he wanted to make, which primarily involved giving a greater voice to folks I don't particularly want to have a voice. So, in protest, I deleted my account. So I've been spending more time on Tumblr lately. Not posting a lot, but, you know, scrolling. And I've been spending more time... How did I do this on this other? Okay. More time on Mastodon, which is my Twitter alternative of choice. I know Amanda finds it frustrating that I use Mastodon for communication with folks because she cannot use Mastodon. For some reason, her Mastodon account got borked and cannot see a number of other accounts. And I don't know quite how this happened. The whole thing with Mastodon is that it's a decentralized sort of system, and as a result, there's not a central authority you can go to. You can go to, like, the person who manages your instance, but they're very often much overworked and volunteer basis, so they don't have a lot of time for debugging. But somehow, when she loads her Mastodon feed, she does not see my Mastodon at all. I think she said that not only does it not show up in her feed, but she can't even see my stuff if she searches for it when she's logged in, which is frankly bizarre. I'm not certain what's going on there. But as a result, and Amanda didn't want to spend a lot of time trying to make something work when she still uses Twitter and it works perfectly fine for her. Like, she didn't want to dedicate the time. Which I fully understand. I don't know how precise I want to make these lines. I'm going to paint the membrane between the fingers a different red. So I don't know that I really care how precise I am here. I can probably go a little faster, but I'm having fun. So anyways, the long and the short of it is, I'm not on Twitter anymore. I deleted my tweets. Well, I deleted my account. The tweets themselves are probably still there and discoverable. If you see somebody who says that they're Thanatos on Twitter, I kind of doubt it. But it's not me. It would be nice if Twitter had the ability to claim a handle even if you're not actively using it. But I don't think that's something that they care about for anybody who's not a big name influencer. And I am definitely not a big name influencer. I'm just me. Sometimes that's enough for me. Sure, I'd love to be the person who makes big decisions in the world, but I don't know. I've had to come to grips with the fact that I'm just me. Just this guy, you know? I don't think I'll ever be a famous household name or have a larger impact on the world. But hopefully, my ambition is that in some way I make things better on a smaller scale. Lead by example. Provide a safe place for some friends. Think a lot about things like larger scale philosophical good versus evil stuff. And I think, by and large, most people, they may dream of being more influential or having a larger impact, but most people make their impact within the circle of folks they have immediate contact with. Is that enough? I don't know. Do I wish that my philosophical ramblings made it out into the broader world? Oh, thank you very much for the bits. Yes. Aww, thank you, Lobster. You influence me too, obviously. is going pretty well. We're doing temporally. I lose track of time when I'm painting. I lose track of time in general. That's just a thing I'm good at. That's one of my secret skills, is when I am doing a thing, just completely disconnecting from the rest of the world. With the result that very frequently when I'm painting or playing video games or playing pinball or whatever, it's easy for me to glance at my watch and discover that several hours have passed. Speaking of playing pinball, that's what I've been doing a lot during this interim that I have not been painting. I don't know if I had talked the last time I was painting about the Electromagnetic Pinball Museum in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. But that is my, not Rhode Island, but that is my current hangout when I'm not home or at work. It's about a 45-minute drive from my house. So it's not something I can just do casually every day. But about once a week, I head out to the Electromagnetic Pinball Museum and I play a bunch of pinball. I don't play much competitively. I wanted to try and play in this season of the New England Pinball League and actually play some pinball competitively with other people. But my schedule couldn't really work it in. All the places that host it tend to do it on evenings or afternoons that I'm at work. So I couldn't really make that work. Very rarely when I'm at... Oh, there's a cat hair on my brush. Where'd that come from? When I'm at the EMP museum, I will jump in on a multiplayer game with some other folks who are there. But most of the time, I'm just playing by my lonesome and trying to beat my high scores and improve my play. That's primarily what I do. I rarely set high scores on tables. And when I do, it's not through skill, really. It's through sheer bloody-minded determination. If you play a single table for a couple of hours, eventually you'll have that one amazing ball where every shot you aim for you make, and it's just like you've turned into a pinball god momentarily. And when that happens to me on modern tables, I end up posting a number 3 or number 4 high score sometimes. I'm not one of those folks who rolls up to a pinball table and just demolishes it. I'm not a top tier player. I guess that's the theme for today, chat. I am not top tier anything. But then, how many people are? This is a difficult thing to wrap my head around. It shouldn't have to be. But just logically, there are billions of people on the planet, right? And maybe a few hundred are top tier at what they do. So that means virtually everybody is just people, you know? Just doing their lives. This figure is kind of large, and it's hard for me to get it on frame while I'm painting. I'm sorry, chat, if I'm painting off screen. But yeah, so this is something I think about frequently, is that the media we consume, certainly nowadays, um, it's all stories of in the chosen one sort of archetype. People who have, through circumstances that take place in their lives, and a larger impact. And when everything you read and everything you play, like all the video games, all the books and stories, everything, all the movies you watch on TV, are all about people who have a huge influence on the world, it can be frustrating to think that you're never going to have that influence. Odds are you're not going to go on a hero's journey, right? And frankly, do you really want to? Seems like those people have horrible things happen to them. And everybody that they know and love. But you internalize it unconsciously, I think. This idea that heroes, that true people, that everybody has like a turning point in their life where they make some choice or some circumstance causes them to gain great power. And it's just not true. It makes for good fiction. But recognizing that it's fiction when it is the only story that you see as you're growing up is difficult. And coming to grips with that, coming to grips with being a normal human, I don't know, it's something I've struggled with my entire life. I don't feel normal, you know? Leaves a person waiting for that unbelievable moment that never comes. And that can feel very belittling over the decades. So I'm trying to evolve my philosophy of peoples is peoples. Folks are just folks. That everybody is living their own slightly disappointing hero's quest. And in their own head, they're the hero of a story. And everybody else is probably coping with the same sense of inadequacy. It's just a global phenomenon. Like I said, as a result of the media that we consume, the images that we are given. You're never going to be a great hero. And if you are somehow awarded a position of greater power through circumstances or birth or luck or whatever, it seems likely you don't necessarily believe sometimes that you actually deserve it. Well, imposter syndrome, right? Neil Gaiman tells a great story about meeting Neil Armstrong, I believe, at a convention, and how Neil Armstrong felt like an imposter amongst people of great influence. And Neil Gaiman was like, yeah, but you walked on the moon. People's is people's. I don't really have more to say on that subject. I've talked before on stream, I think, about the the notion that the life you perceive is in some way manufactured, um, like the Matrix or the Truman Show or something like that, and what what purpose that would have. My understanding is that mathematically, it's more likely that you are living in a matrix than that you are living in a quote-unquote real world. The theory being, uh, there are so many stars in the galaxy, in the universe, that it's almost inevitable that some species have created artificial realities. So therefore, the number of artificial realities in the universe outnumber the number of species living in sort of raw, outside of a construct lives. So mathematically, it makes sense to assume that the life you live, the reality you perceive, is not is being generated in some way, is not a quote-unquote real world. It's more likely that you're living in a fiction than that you're living reality. The counter-argument, of course, being, who would make a fiction this dull, this repetitive and banal? So then you come to the inevitable question being, why? Like, to what end would somebody create a reality like this in which I live a dreary, day-to-day shopkeep life. Man, I'd forgotten how dry my mouth gets doing this and not drinking my coffee. Hey, sweetie, welcome home. I finished up one wing. Well, the fingers of one wing. I have to do the undersides now. So, chat, I think, I don't know, I'll probably put in another half an hour or so, and then I'm going to go make some lunch or something. So, shortest stream today. We're making some progress here. Alright, so let's get the fingers done on the undersides of these wings. I don't know if I'm going to get time today to work on the membranes between the wings, which is the next step, and then I'll be done with the base coat, and I can start thinking about doing some washes and doing some finer detail stuff. But where was I? Oh yes, reality. And if this life that we perceive is in fact a simulation, or, not, is somehow being generated artificially, to what end? And there's a few possibilities. I mean, there's probably infinite possibilities, but the ones that spring to mind, if the reality we perceive is a video game, then the banality of it is a prelude to, the actual action. Which means that everything you remember, everything you have experienced, everything that has gone on in your petty, banal little life is just a prelude. That's not a great thought. It's also, I don't know, it's entirely feasible. One thing that happens in dreams to me a lot is I'll have a dream and I'll dream memories. Which is to say, my dreams have a very epic feel because there's a vast background that my brain generates as I'm dreaming. And it's always been that way in that dream. I remember entire backstories. And it's not just, it's knowledge and memory piped directly into the dream. Which, like I said, gives the dreams a truly epic feel, but also goes to show that memories are as malleable as any other perception. You observe a memory in the same way that you observe a mini that you are currently painting. It is held in the eye of your mind, and it's not always reliable. So, the reason I bring this up, if you are living in a virtual construct, the drudgery of your daily life could well be an artificial construct itself. I could have just woken up into this reality right now in the middle of this stream as I am talking to you, and everything that I remember prior to that was jammed into my head within the last couple of seconds. It's unlikely, but possible. So yes, perhaps if this is a video game that I am experiencing, I need to get more paint. Everything that I have lived up to this moment is just backstory. The problem with believing something like that is you're in a constant state of waiting for the story to begin, right? It's every single waking moment you're waiting for that event that begins the adventure and takes you out of the drudgery of your life. And that's not a very satisfying way to live. I'll tell you that from personal experience, chat. That if you're just waiting for something epic and colossal to drop into your life, you're not really living your life, right? So that's one possibility. Another possibility, if we are living a simulation, is ye old human zoo, where some civilization has recreated you or born you into an emulation of a time that no longer exists in order to, I don't know, observe people in their natural environs. Witness, lo, the human being of the early 21st century. Not sure how you apply such a thing to your day-to-day life. If you were living in a zoo, were an exhibit for people to observe, well, and this also applies to the Truman Show postulate that you are the star of some reality program and your world is a construct created by somebody who's manipulating your life to observe you. Well, I'm sorry to my viewers, because damn must I be dull to watch. It's like going to the zoo and the lions refuse to wake up or even come out of their enclosure or their den. And you're just watching an empty enclosure. Not too terribly thrilling. I can't imagine there's much entertainment value to watching me sit at a computer and pay bills or order games to fill the shelves at Battleground. Even watching me play pinball, as Amanda will attest, is not terribly thrilling, because for me, in the moment, I'm enjoying flipping the ball around. But for anybody watching, it's just me standing there, almost completely immobile, a machine making a lot of noise, and occasionally me cursing as the ball skedaddles down the side or inevitably drains down the center. I try not to use incredibly try not to use many expletives when I am playing pinball in public, but I do sometimes get quite frustrated with my inability to make the ball go where I want the ball to go. Just go where you're supposed to go, ball. Dag nabbit. Anyways, not thrilling to watch. So yeah, as a video game or as a reality TV program or zoo, my life not terribly effective. My chosen belief with regards to if life is a simulation, and this is a big if, I'm not saying life is a simulation. I'm saying the mathematical likelihood that it is high. Another possibility, which is similar to the zoo or Truman Show idea, is that the life I am experiencing, or that you are experiencing, the life that you perceive, is a recreation. It's a historical recreation of another life that actually happened. And this is what was happening to Thanatos at this particular moment in time. Even less motivation comes from that than from other interpretations, because if that's the case, then not only is the moment that I'm living right now, sitting here painting this mini and talking to you, a simulation, but it is, or possibly a prelude to some cataclysmic event that thrusts me onto the world stage. But it is predetermined, and not only the moment that I'm in, but anything potentially to happen subsequently has already happened, and this is like a historical document of some sort that I am experiencing. Yeah, doesn't give me a great deal of power, of influence in my own life. And I recognize that decision making is not as straightforward as it is often portrayed. I won't say that your life path is predetermined, but certainly your understanding of how you make decisions is often flawed, because your brain is constantly telling itself stories about why things happen, and that includes why your body does the things that it does. But that's a whole other subject. That's a whole sticky thing to look at. But I don't like the lack of agency involved in thinking of your life as predetermined. I have little enough agency as it is. There's not too much that I really have influence over. And to think that things are predetermined in addition, it's just depressing to me. So yeah, I don't when I ponder the notion of my life being a simulation, I don't tend to go with any of those interpretations. The one that I do tend to go for is, and the one that I feel makes the most sense, is that your life could be a training algorithm. That there is a particular type of person that some entity desires to manufacture, and by putting you through the life that you are leading, they manufacture that identity. To whatever end? Are they making compliant people who are good at ordering video games? Sure, that's a possibility, I suppose, right? That's something that could be happening, maybe? I don't know. It seems far-fetched, but it's the most likely option, I think. You know what? I want to see if I can find the paint I was using for this guy's horns. Oh, sure, Lobster. Lobster says perhaps there's an entity for whom the day-to-day lives that we experience are entertaining. Like, they're not entertaining to us, but perhaps there's something out there that does find them entertaining. That's possible. Plausible, even. You know, an infinite possible number of beings in the galaxy. Who's to say that they don't find banality fascinating? I think this is the color I was using for the horns. Cork brown? No, that's the color I was using for the fur here. Dangnabbit. Okay, hang on. I can find this. Yeah, that's also, I mean, that's sort of like, what if you are in fact a sim? Which is to say, a not entirely real creature. I think this must be the horns. You can see how tiny these paint pots are. So this is the paint pot from the Wizkids Paint Night set, compared to, this is a Vallejo paint pot. It's about 1/4 the volume, 1/3 to 1/4. That having been said, I've only completely used up 2 bottles of Vallejo paint in the time I've been painting. I've used up 1 bottle of this Vallejo red and 1 bottle of Flat Earth, which is one of the browns I use. So it doesn't really, I mean, you don't need a lot of paint. The disadvantage to these paint pots that come in this kit is that they don't have an eyedropper, and they are a little bit messy. So when you open it up, and it opens with these little tabs here. Come on. There we go. It has a tendency to slosh into the joint here of the pot and over the edges. So it's difficult to work with. I'm just going to get a little bit out of this pot onto my paint palette because I don't really need much right now. There. I just want to touch up the horn of the dragon right by his eye, where I was painting the iris earlier on in the stream. looking good now. All right. What time is it? Chat, I wanted to finish the work on the underside of these wings today, but it's almost 11. I kind of also want to spend some time with Amanda before she has to go to work. I got all of this wing underside done. I did the top side of this wing, but not the underside of it. Maybe just a few more strokes. Get a little bit in the next couple of minutes. Ultimately, as an intellectual exercise, the analysis of life as a simulation seems fairly pointless. Because what is the end game of that thought, that intellectual exercise, like I said, that thought experiment? If your life is a simulation, one question is why, and the other is, okay, so how does that influence your decisions in your life? And ultimately, every time I think about this, my answer is, I don't think it does. I don't think it changes anything. Sure, this life could be a simulation. It could be different from, it could be a manufactured reality. But does that really make any difference at all in how you live your life? I don't think so. Certainly not for me. I try to live my life in such a way that I do as little harm to others as possible, and maybe, possibly, help them a little sometimes. I don't know. I don't feel I have a lot of power to help people. But I try in my own small way, by setting an example, by sharing the things I enjoy. Boy, this is a difficult angle. I'm sure you guys can't see any of what I'm doing right now because it's just right under the wing and behind the body of this guy. This is one of those things where I always say, if I can't paint it, probably is less impactful to the model because people probably won't be able to see it. But yeah, if my life is a simulation, fine, so be it. I apologize to my viewers if it is a Truman Show thing, because I spend a lot of time scrolling the internet. That can't be fun to watch. It certainly wouldn't be to me. Seems very dull and repetitive. So, sorry about that, viewers. But that's just who I am, I guess. You're going to watch a lot of pinball. You're going to watch a lot of painting minis. Scrolling Tumblr. That's just the way things are. And frankly, to the designers of the simulation, that's how you made things. You can't blame anybody but yourselves. That's the simulation you made. It's Sim Doom Scroll. And God, who the hell would want to watch that? But yeah, um, I don't. My personal philosophy and my attitude towards life is, and always has been, um, treat other people nicely. Be good to folks, and even folks you don't know are living their own rich inner lives, and you should respect that and try to help them. Uh, Obviously, human beings are tribal beings. They are constructed in such a way that they try to uh, preserve their own tribe. That is the way that we evolved, or at least that's my understanding of things. Um, but the tribe that I have decided I belong to is larger than just the people I know. It's nothing saying that your tribe can't be all people. If you can hold that in your head, it makes it much easier to be nice to everybody. And that's what I want. I want to be nice to everybody. There are some people that don't want to be nice to people, and I have a great deal of pity for them. I try not to enable that sort of behavior. This is one of the things that happens at the store irregularly, but it's something I have to confront from time to time, which is people who believe that they have more that they deserve better than other people, and that accommodation should not be made for people who they perceive as lesser. And that's not something that I want in my sphere of influence. And I don't have much agency, I don't have much power. But maybe in some small way I can say, hey, what, what are you saying? Think about your words. I'm a very non-confrontational person, so it's hard for me to speak up under those circumstances, but I've tried. The irony of the liberal viewpoint that everybody is just people is that, of course, this includes people who think that they are better or superior or more worthy for whatever reason. Uh, and I try not to empower that. I consider my tribe, insofar as I have one, to be the downtrodden as a vague sort of group. And I think everybody's downtrodden in some way. There's very, very few. Like I said, way, way back at the beginning of this. There are very few people who are extraordinary. Most folks, just people. And anybody who doesn't believe that they're just people, anybody who thinks that they are more deserving than others of attention or priority or respect or whatever, they are the ones who are least deserving. In my mind. Because they're the ones who are attacking my tribe. My tribe being everybody. So of course that's the central contradiction in the liberal mindset, is that only intolerance is not to be tolerated. But I've come to accept that. I can live with a contradiction like that in my philosophy. Alright, I've got 3 fingers left on this wing, on the underside of this wing. I'm going to leave those for tomorrow, because I do hope to be back tomorrow. Anybody who is watching me on Twitch at this current moment will note that the schedule for this stream is complete bullshit. It still says that I stream weekdays from 10 to noon. I went into twitch.com today and I tried to update that, and damned if I can find where to fix it. Because, like I said, Twitch's back end kind of obtuse. But the reality is I stream when I feel like it these days, and I'm sorry if that's difficult. It's certainly not ideal for building a community of viewers, but it is where I currently am mentally. But yes, I will, hopefully, see you folks tomorrow. We'll finish the undersides of those wings, start working on the membranes, and perhaps, unlikely, but perhaps, we'll move on to washes. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to anybody who's watching the VOD or the YouTube archive. I do plan to archive this to YouTube. And be excellent to each other. I will see you all again soon. Bye, everybody. Enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do.